Safe.
Hello, there we go. Let's try that again. My beautiful citizens of the Imperium.
He's the fucking who?
How are we all doing today?
Greetings, dear Queechlings. I am Imperial Servo Skull Unit, Nigel. Pleased to make your acquaintance.
Oh, well, cheers for that, Nigel. How are we all doing? There we go. Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen that I was muted. Sorry, guys. I'm not with it today. I'm absolutely blasted. My mind is completely up my arse. But, my beautiful Queechlings, how are we all doing tonight? It is Wednesday. I am running a little bit behind. We've been having problems with the fucking, with the Queechy bot, which has been wonderful. So that hasn't been working. But everything is back up and running now. We're all good. How has your day been? How has everyone's day been? Let me know in the chat. Let's see who we've got. Let's see. We have got Nurse, Jesky, Leeds J, Drebin, Eggy, Sketchcat, and Cecil. Right, hang on 1 second. What's going on here? Old Rake, how you doing? Old Rake's here. How you doing? Wash, how you doing? Nurse is going to see System of a Down tonight. That'll be amazing. Oh, that's a wonderful information there, Banger. Thank you so much for that. I'll sleep better tonight knowing that.
All I'm trying to do is bang.
Do you know what I mean? Old Rake, mint mate. I'm in Glasgow for work. What you do? What you doing there? What you doing in old Glasgow town? Not heroin, I hope. It's good to see you in here, Old Rake. Big love. Steve Remastered. How you doing, mate? Steve Remastered. What is this? This is a live book reading stream. Live from the Imperial Archives. Do you know what I mean? I am the Remembrancer, the Slam King. And I'm here to regale you with a story of treachery and heresy tonight. Oh. Eggy, how are you doing? Oh, Big Nigel. Oh, y'all loving Nigel? Yeah, nice one for Nigel. Did absolutely fuck all, didn't he? Fucking Nigel doing absolutely sweet FA. Do you know what I mean? Oh, Leeds J's stuck at work till 8 PM. Fucking hell. Well, I hope that goes quick for you. I hope that goes quick for you, mate. Old Drake, I'm a service engineer for scientific equipment and heroin. Nice. 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 Which one's the most important, though, in your life? Because usually what I found with heroin addicts is that heroin is usually the most important thing in their life. So it must be sick. Do you know what I mean? Banger, knock it off, dude, or you're going to get banned. I mean, in answer to your question, you just turn it off, don't you? Like that's usually what you do. That's usually how it works. Do you know what I mean? Raptor Wash kick chat is leaking. Old Drake. Sorry, got heroin mixed up with chicken bakes. Ah, there we go. There we go. Well, it's easily done, isn't it? It's easily done. Easily done. Yeah. So yeah, I've been having problems with the old Queechy bot tonight. The Queechy bot just wouldn't log in, so I had to like completely log out of everything and then log everything back in. It was a fucking nightmare. So that took fucking ages. So yeah. Fucking Queechy bot. Gonna have to replace him with Nigel. Do you know what I mean? Good old Nigel. Leeds J, still awaiting the arrival of my super sick Slam King patch. Yeah, I've got them right here. I'm going to go to the post office next week and send them all over. Ooh, excuse me. How on YouTube? How you doing? Blood for the Blood Emperor. Skulls for the Golden Skull Throne. Yeah, don't worry, Steve. Moderator Supreme Chaka's in the chat. So. Any more out of you, Banger, and you'll be out on your ass. Right. Should we just jump straight into this book tonight? Because I am raring to go. I want to know exactly what's happening next. So where were we up to last week? What happened? Ah, that was it. It ended with... So we were basically at the point where Horus had gathered everyone onto the Vengeful Spirit and had laid out his battle plans for Istvaan. So, well, I mean, we all know how that happened. And it was... an absolute fucking betrayal, wasn't it? But at this point in time, Garro doesn't know. So Horus is laying out his battle plans for the Istvaan 3 invasion. Unbeknownst to Garro, that this entire thing is a complete work of treachery. So that's where we left it. Horus said his piece, and there we were. Hey, Martin, how you doing? Right. Where we at? Okay, so we're on chapter 5. So if you're reading along at home, chapter 5. We'll just jump straight into it. Oh, Martin's just got home from work. Nice. Nice. Memento. Right, so if you're reading along at home, we're starting tonight from chapter 5. So we'll just get straight into it. Chapter 5. Choices made. Omens. In extremis. Over the rumble and clatter of docking gear, Nathaniel heard a voice call his name and turned in place to see an Astartes in shining purple armor throw a salute. Garro hesitated, glancing back to see if he hadn't broken some minor protocol by stepping out of the formation. Beneath the spread wings of the Stormbird launch cradles, he saw his Primarch and the Master of the World Eaters leaning close together, speaking in a careful and measured fashion. He concluded that he had a moment or two before his Lord Commander would require him. The warrior of the Emperor's children was approaching, and Garro's eyes narrowed. During the briefing, neither Commander Eidolon nor the men of his honor guard had even deigned to acknowledge the battle captain's presence. Yet here was one of them calling out for his attention. He didn't recognize the pennants on the man's armor, but he was sure that this Astartes hadn't been present in Lupercal's court. "Oh, Death Guard," said a wry voice from behind the blunt-snouted breath mask of the Death Guard. "Are you so slow-witted that you ignore your betters?" The figure reached up and removed his headgear, and Garro felt a warm grin cross his lips for what felt like the first time in days. "Blood's oath. Saul Tarvitz. Aren't you dead yet? I hardly recognized you underneath all that finery." The other man gave a slight nod, shoulder-length hair falling across a patrician face marred only by a brass plate across his brow. "Captain Tarvitz, I'll have you note, Nathaniel. I've moved up in the world since last we spoke." The two Astartes clasped each other's wrists, and their vambraces clattered together. Each had a small eagle carved there by knife point, a sign of the battle debt they owed one another. "So I see." Garro saw it now, the etching and the filigree on the shoulder plates that designated Tarvitz's new rank. "You deserve it, brother." There were few men outside the Death Guard that Garro would ever have given the distinction of that address, but Tarvitz was one of them. He had earned Nathaniel's enmity during the Preaxior campaign, and proven to him that for all the reputation of Fulgrim's Astartes as overconfident peacocks, there were men amongst the ranks of the Emperor's children that embodied the ideals of the Imperium. "I'd wondered if we might cross paths here." Tarvitz nodded. "We'll do more than that, my friend. Our companies are to form part of the force that will silence the monitor station." "Yes, of course." Garro was aware that warriors from the 3rd Legion would be fighting alongside his 7th Company. But now he knew that Saul Tarvitz would be there. He felt a greater confidence. "Eidolon has given you this one, then?" Tarvitz hid a grin. "No. He'll be there at me shoulder. He's not one to miss even a sniff of glory. I imagine he'll goad me on to ensure the Death Guard don't take the lion's share of the kills." Garro's smile turned brittle. "Cheers me to see you, honor brother," he said, his emotions suddenly raw, there, and then gone. Tarvitz caught the moment too. "I know that look, Nathaniel. What's troubling you?" He shook his head. "Nothing. It's nothing. I'm fatigued, that's all. And perhaps a bit overawed by all this." He gestured around. The other officer glanced at the Primarchs, still intent on their conversation. "Aye, I'll share that with you," he smirked. "Is it true what they say? That the War Master can stop your heart as soon as look at you?" "Well, he's impressive. Of that you can have no doubt," agreed Garro. "But then would you expect any less of the Emperor's Chosen?" He hesitated. "I'm surprised you weren't part of the Honor Guard. Doesn't your rank entitle you to that?" "Eidolon has favour over me," Tarvitz replied. "And he would never share his moment in Horus's spotlight with another officer." Garro grunted. Well, if he preens about the moment too much, you might ask him to recount how Angron shouted him down for his impudence, and the War Master gave his approval to it." Tarvitz laughed. "Well, I doubt that part of the story will ever be told." "No." Garro looked back at Mortarion and saw the Death Lord give a shallow bow to the World Eater. "I think we'll be leaving now." "Until the battlefield, then, Saul." "Until the battlefield, Nathaniel." "Tell Eidolon we'll try to leave a little glory for him, if he asks us politely." The battle captain saluted and followed his master aboard the Stormbird. "You really think you can take him?" asked Ral. tapping a quizzical finger on his chin. Decius did not look up. This is a battle, like any other, and I intend to win it. Ral glanced at Sendek, who waited, poised and ready. He's gonna beat you to a standstill. The Astartes leaned in closer, over the arena of combat. Look here. Your Magister is under threat from his Castellan. Your Dragonar is pinned by his cannonades. And if you want a game, you can wait until after I've dispatched Sendek, snapped Decius. Until then, if you must watch, be silent. I need to think. And that's why you'll lose, Ral retorted. Let them play, Pay, said Hacker, the veteran pulling Ral away from the regicide board, as ill temper flared in the younger Astartes' eyes. Stop distracting him. Ral allowed the older warrior to draw him back. Care to make a bet on the outcome? I'd hate to embarrass you again. He smiled. Solan's gonna lose, Anders. That's as plain as your face. Hacker returned the smile. Really? Well, although I may not be as handsome as you, I have the benefit of wisdom. And I'll tell you this. Solan Decius isn't the fool you think he is. I never said he was a fool. Ral was defensive. But Sendek is a thinker, and regicide's a game of the mind. I've seen the mess Solan makes of the practice cages. That's where the lad's strength lies. In his fists. Anders smirks. You shouldn't underestimate him. He wouldn't be part of the battle captain's cadre if he was a dim candle. The veteran cast a look over the table, where Decius had just moved a soldat to take one of Sendek's iterators. He's young, that's true. But he has a lot of potential. I've seen his kind before. Let him grow unguided, he'll turn down the wrong path and wind up a corpse. But mould a man like him with care and intention, and at the end you'll have a brother fit to be a captain himself one day. Ral blinked. I thought you didn't like him. Why? Because I make sport of the lad. I do that to everyone. It's part of my charm. Anders leaned closer and lowered his voice. Of course, if you tell him I said any of those things, I'll deny it to the hilt and then I'll break your legs. There was a decisive clack of wood on wood, and Ral glanced around to see Sendek pressing his Empress to the board, surrendering the game to Decius, with a grudging smile on his face. Well played, brother. You are a singular opponent. You see, prodded Hacker. He must have let him win, Ral said lamely. As a small mercy. Mercies for the irresolute, broke in Voyen as he entered the exercise enclosure, intoning the battle axiom with insincere solemnity. Who asks for it? He shrugged back the hood off his duty robes. Anders nodded to the other Astartes. Brother Ral does. He has once again been proven wrong, and it no doubt chafes upon him. Ral finally bared his teeth in mild annoyance. Don't make me hurt you, old man. Hacker rolled his eyes. And what are you, Merrick? Where have you been? The question was a mild one, but Ral saw a fractional flicker of tension in the apothecary's eyes. And my business, Anders. Little more than that. Voyen quickly turned the conversation away from him. So, Pay. I trust you're ready for the coming fight? I think the score is in my favour still, yes? He nodded. Ral and Voyen had a casual competition between them as to which man would take a kill first on any given mission. Only combatants count, remember? That last one was only a servitor. Gun servitor, corrected Voyen. Would have killed me if I had let it. He looked around. I believe we will have ample chance to test the mettle of these defectors on Istvaan. There's to be a multi-stage offensive, first a landing to deny the monitor stations on the outermost world, then onto the inner planets for an assault in full. Hacker's lip curled. You're very well informed. Captain Garro has not returned from the War Master's barge, and yet already you know the details of the mission. Voyen hesitated. Common enough knowledge. His tone shifted, becoming more guarded. Is it? Ral sensed something amiss. Who told you, brother? Does it matter? The apothecary said defensively. The information came to me. I thought you would wish to know, but if you'd rather remain unappraised... That's not what he said, Anders noted. Come, Merrick. Where did you learn these things? Someone in the infirmary babbling under the influence of pain nullifiers, perhaps? Or a talkative astropath? Ral became aware that the rest of the men in the room had fallen silent and were watching the exchange. Even Garro's housecarl was there, observing. Voyen saw Caleb too and shot him a frosty glare. I asked you a question, brother, said Hacker, and this time it was in the tone of voice he used on the battlefield, one accustomed to giving orders and having them obeyed. Voyen's jaw hardened. I can't say. He stepped around the veteran and took a few paces towards his arming alcove. Hacker caught his arm and stopped him. What is it you have in your hand? Nothing of your concern, Sergeant. The elder Astartes was easily twice the apothecary's age, yet for all those decades Hacker's martial skills were deft and undimmed. He easily took Voyen's wrist and applied pressure to a nerve cluster, trapping his hand. Merrick's fingers uncurled of their own accord, and there, in his palm, was a mottled brass coin. What is this? Hacker demanded in a low voice. You know what it is, Voyen snapped back. Don't play me for a fool. The dull disc bore the imprint of the Legion's sigil. A lodge medal, breathed Ral. You're in the lodges? Since when? I can't say, Voyen retorted, shaking off Hacker's grip and walking to the alcove where his sparse collection of personal effects were kept. Don't ask me anything else. You know the battle captain's feelings on this matter, said Anders. He refutes any clandestine gatherings. He refutes, Merrick interrupted. He does, not I. If Captain Garro wishes to stay beyond the fraternity of the lodges, then that is his choice, and yours too if you wish to follow him. But I do not. I am a member. He blew out a breath. There. It is said. Decius was on his feet. We are all part of the 7th, he growled. And the company's command cadre at that. Garro sets the example we should follow without question. Well, if he would take the time to listen, he would understand. Merrick shook his head and gestured with the medal. You would understand that this is not some kind of secret society. It's just a place where men can meet and talk freely. That seems so, noted Sendek. From what you have implied, in this lodge it appears that even the most sensitive of military information is bandied about without restraint. Voyen shook his head angrily. It is not like that at all. Don't twist my meaning. You must end your membership, Merrick, said Hacker. Swear it now and we'll speak no more of this conversation. I won't. He gripped the coin tightly. You all know me. We are battle brothers. I've healed every one of you, saved the lives of some even. I am Merrick Voyen, your friend and comrade in arms. Do you really think that I would take part in something seditious? He snorted. Trust me, if you saw the faces of the men who were there, you'd understand that it's you and Garro who are the minority. What Grulgor and Typhon do with their companies is their own lookout, added Decius. And the rest, Voyen replied. I am far from the only soldier of the 7th in the association. No, insisted Hacker. I would never lie to you, and if holding this token makes you think any less of me, then... And after a long moment he bowed his head, deflated. Then perhaps you are not the kinsman I thought you were. When Voyen looked up again, someone else had joined the other men in the chamber. Ral heard a razor edge of anger in Captain Garro's voice as he spoke a single command. Give me the room. When they were alone, and Caleb sealed the door behind him, Garro turned a hard stare on his subordinate. His mailed fingers tensed into fists. I never heard you enter, Voyen muttered. How much did you hear? You do not refute, he replied. I stood outside in the corridor a while before I entered. The apothecary gave a dry laugh. I thought your housecarl was the spy. What Caleb speaks to me is guided only by his conscience. I do not ask him. Then he and I are alike. Garro looked away. You say... Then that is your principles that made you join the lodge. Is that it? Aye. I'm the senior healer for the 7th Company. It's my duty to know these true feelings of the men who are part of it. Sometimes there are things a man will tell his lodgemate that he would not tell his apothecary. Voyen stared down at the deck. Am I to assume that you will have me posted to another company in light of this disclosure? Some part of Garro expected himself to explode with fury, but all he felt now was disappointment. I eschew the lodge, and then I learn a most trusted friend within my inner circle is a part of it. Such a thing might make me seem weak or short-sighted to others. No, insisted the Astartes. Lord, please, no. I did not choose this in order to undermine you. It was only the right choice for Merrick Voyen. Garro was silent for a few moments. We have been brothers in warfare for decades, over thousands of battlefields. You are a fine warrior, and a better healer. I would not have had you join my cadre otherwise. But this, you kept this from us all, and made our comradeship cheap. If you stay under my command, Merrick, you will not find it easy to earn back the trust that you have lost today. He met the other man's gaze. Go, or stay. Make the choice that's right for Merrick Voyen. If I wish to remain, will my departure from the lodge be a condition of that, Lord? The captain shook his head. I won't force you to disassociate yourself. You're still my battle brother, even if your decisions are sometimes not in line with mine. Garro stepped forward and offered Voyen his hand. But I will have a pledge from you. Promise me, here and now, that if the Lodge ever compels you to turn from the face of the Emperor of Man, you will destroy that medal and reject them. The apothecary took Garro's hand. I swear it, Lord. On terror itself, I swear it. The matter dealt with for the moment, Garro gathered his men back together and briefed them on the battle plans the War Master had outlined. By his example, not a single harsh word was said to Voyen, but the apothecary kept silent and to the edge of things. No voice was raised in question as to why Voyen still stood with them, but Garro saw reservations in the eyes of Decius, Ral, and the others. When it was done, Garro left his dress war gear to Caleb's attention and took his own counsel. So many things had come and gone in so short a time. It seemed like only moments ago that he had been looking over attack simulations for the raid on the Jorgal world ship. Now the Legiones Astartes massed for the first hammer blow strike on Istvaan Extremis, and Garro saw conflict in the heart of his own company. Had he made the wrong choice in letting Voyen remain? His mind moved back to the conversation with Mortarion before the War Council, where questions of the lodges had risen as well. It troubled the captain that he could not determine an easy path through these thoughts. At times, he wondered if he were at fault, holding firmly to a conservative course, keeping the tradition and heart of the Legion alive while time moved on and things changed. Yes, things were changing. The shift of mood here on Endurance was slight, but visible to his trained senses, and aboard the War Master's ship, it was more obvious still. Bleak emotions gathered at the edges of his thoughts like distant storm clouds. He could not shake the sensation that something malign was waiting out there, gathering strength and biding its time. And so Garro did what he had made into a quiet personal habit in order to clear his mind and find focus for the coming battle. High up atop the Endurance's dorsal hull lay the oval dome of the ship's observatorium, a space put aside so that naval crew might be able to take emergency star-fixed sightings should the vessel's cogitators become inoperative. It also served a purely ornamental function, although there were few among the Death Guard who ever used it for so trivial a purpose. Garro dimmed all the glow globes in the air in the chamber and seated himself at the control console. The operator chair shifted back and reclined on quiet hydraulics. Presently, the battle captain was tilted so he could take in the unfettered sweep of the starscape. Istvaan's blue-white sun was a bright glow off in the lower quadrant, attenuated by a localized polarization in the augmented armor glass. He looked away from it and let the blackness surround him. Gradually, tension eased from the knots in his muscles. Garro felt adrift in the ocean of stars, cupped in the bubble of atmosphere. He saw past the silver flashes of ship hulls, out into the deep void, and not for the first time. He looked and wondered where home was. Officially, the home world of the 14th Legion was Barbarous, a cloud-wreathed sphere near the edge of the Gothic sector. It was from that troubled world that most of the Death Guard's number originated. Men like Grulgor and Typhon, Decius and Sendek, even Caleb. Garro had learned to have deference and respect for the planet and its testing nature, but it would never be home to him. Garro had been born on Terra and drawn up into the Legiones Astartes before men had even known the name of Barbarous. In those years, the 14th Legion had gone by a different title, and they had no Primarch, but the Emperor himself. Garro swelled with pride to remember that time. They had been the Dusk Raiders, so known because of their signature tactic of attacking a foe at nightfall. Then, they had worn armor without the green trim of the current Legion. The war gear of the Dusk Raiders was the dull white of old marble, but with their right arm and shoulders coloured in a deep, glistening crimson. The symbology of the armor showed their foes what they truly were: the Emperor's red right hand, the relentless and unstoppable. Many enemies had thrown down their weapons the moment the sun dipped beneath the horizon, rather than dare to fight them. But that too had changed. When the Emperor's cloned sons, the great Primarchs, had been sundered from his side and scattered across the galaxy, the Dusk Raiders joined their brother legions and their master in the great crusade that began the age of the Imperium. Garro had been there, centuries past. It did not seem so long ago, and yet there were countless years of time measured by Terran clocks that he had lost in the confusion of the warp, in cryogenic stasis and through the strange physics of near light speed travel. Garro had been there as the Emperor crossed the galaxy in search of his star-lost children, Sanguinius, Ferrus, Guilliman, Magnus, and the rest. With each reuniting, the Lord of Mankind had gifted his sons with command of the forces that had been created in their image. When at last the Emperor came to Barbarus and discovered the gaunt warrior foundling leading its oppressed people, he had located the avatar of the 14th Legion. On Barbarus, when Mortarion had come to rest after falling through the chaotic turmoil of a warp storm, the boy Primarch found a planet where the human colonists were ground beneath the heel of a clan of mutant warlords. He grew up to fight them and liberate the commoners, creating his own army of steadfast warriors to lead the way into the poisonous heights where the warlords hid. These men Mortarion named the Death Guard. So it was written that when at last the Emperor and Mortarion met and defeated the Dark Master of the Warlords, Barbarus was free, and the Primarch accepted a place in his father's crusade at the head of the 14th Legion. Mortarion's first words to his army were carved in a granite arch over the airlock gate of the battle barge Reaper's Scythe, in memory of the moment. He had come at the Emperor's bidding with the elite of his barbarian cohort at his side, and hundreds more on the way. Garro had been there, as nothing more than a line Astartes, when he heard his new Primarch speak. "You are my unbroken blades," he told them. "You are the Death Guard." And with those words, the Dusk Raiders were no more. Things changed. On the day of Mortarion's coronation as a Primarch, a good majority of the 14th Legion had been of Garro's stock, men born on Terra or within the confines of the Sol system. But slowly that number had dwindled, and as new recruits joined the Death Guard fold, they came only from Barbarus. Now, as the 31st millennium turned about its axis, there was only a comparative handful of Terrans in the Legion. In his blackest moments, Nathaniel imagined a time where there would be none of his kinsmen left among the 14th, and with their deaths, the traditions of the old Dusk Raiders would finally fade away. He feared that moment, for when it came to pass, something of the Legion's noble character would die as well. Memory was a curious companion. In some instances, Garro's fragmentary reminiscences of his deep past were clearer than those of battles some months old, by a peculiarity of the Astartes implants in his cerebrum. He recalled a moment as a boy growing up in Albia, in front of a memorial to warriors that dated back beyond the 10th millennium. A great arch of white stone and figures made of black metal. The surface is worn smooth but protected by a layer of synthetic diamond. And he remembered a night on Barbaros, atop one of the highest crags, peering into the sky. The clouds parted for the rarest of moments, and Nathaniel's eyes had found, as they did now beneath the glass dome, a lone dot of light in the great darkness. Now, as then, he looked to the distant star and wondered again if it were home. Could the Emperor, in his matchless capacity, be turning some small scrap of his towering mind towards him? Or was it vanity on Garro's part to think he would even merit the notice of the Lord of Mankind? With the next heartbeat, the captain's breath caught in his throat as the light he watched glittered brightly, then faded to nothing, dying before him. The blinded star vanished, leaving a dark pall over Nathaniel's spirit. Decius turned his hand over and held up his palm to the air, catching some of the fat, lazy flakes of snow drifting down around him. In the low gravity of Istvaan Extremis, the powdered shavings of nitrogen ice floated in slow motion towards the monochrome grey of the mottled surface. He smiled at the moment in self-amusement and turned the open palm into a ball. It was the match of his right hand, but nowhere near as large as the monstrous power fist lined with green enamel and patient little ticks of lightning. He flexed the heavy fingers experimentally. Decius's control over the glove was so deft that he could pick a flower or crush a skull with equal ease. Not that there was any flora of any kind on this dead ball of ice and stone, but there were plenty of heads to break. That was certain. The thought made Decius's smile widen into a cocky grin. He glanced back over his shoulder, across the rippling, crater-pocked plain of the western approaches. Deathguard waited in every shadowed lee, behind every rock and outcropping, silent and ready. The dull colour of their armour was nearly a match for the grey landscape, and it was only the lines of jade trim around their shoulders and breastplates that broke up the camouflage. They were quiet, like their namesake, and prepared for the moment. Decius saw a glint of gold. Captain Garro was speaking into the helmet of Sergeant Hakur. In turn, old Hakur moved and passed the order on to Raal, then on to another man, on and on, the command spreading in a whispering ripple. The 7th Company had observed Vox discipline since the Thunderhawks had set them down over the horizon of the planetoid, out of sight on the monitor's station sensor towers. They communicated by hushed words or by battle sign, advancing with stealth towards the shield wall protecting the west face of the enemy dome complex. This had been done to ensure that all the attention of the Istvanians would be turned elsewhere, out to where the brightly armoured and very visible Emperor's children advanced. Now they were close, and all the waiting, hours, so it seemed to Decius, was done. The attack was at hand. Sendek leaned close and spoke into Decius's audio pickup. "Be ready for the word." He nodded in acknowledgement and passed the command on to the Astartes at his side, a warrior with the cobra head shape of a missile launcher on his shoulder. The thin atmosphere of Istvaan Extremis did not carry sound well, but such was the cacophony coming from the far side of the rebel complex that it still reached them. Decius could pick out the strained rattle of combi bolters, the smack thud of crack grenade detonations. The noise made his palms itch with anticipation. Then, over the Vox channel, he heard Garro break radio silence.
7th, position.
The battle captain's voice was grim and heavy. Decius's commander had not been himself since he returned from the vengeful spirit, and once more Solon found himself thinking about what might have gone on aboard the War Master's barge. And then this business with Voyen. He shuttered the thoughts away. Decius watched the battlements of the west wall through the magnifiers of his optics, studying the motion of the black figures patrolling up there. They were milling around, unsure of where they were meant to be. The attack by the Emperor's children was doing its job, drawing the concentration of the defenders. "Good for something, at least," he murmured to himself. Decius had always thought the Third Legion to be more self-indulgent than the rest of the Astartes. A voice came back over the general channel. A single word loaded with the ready glee of battle.
Execute!
Shouted Eidolon. And as one of the Death Guards surged up from their concealment in a heavy wave of storm grey armor. "Count the 7! Cried a voice, and Decius repeated the call, hearing it over and over down the line of advance. The men of the 14th Legion were done being quiet. The guards on the battlements were already red ruins, falling from their perches to shatter on the rock floor, cawed by bolt shells sniped from the middle distance. Small gauge missiles from man-portable launchers lanced out in a wave over Decius's head, converging on points in the wall where Auspex scans had discovered weaknesses. The Astartes saw motion at the foot of the barrier. There were self-contained bunker pods strung out there, each equipped with pintle-mounted lasers. Thread-thin lines of crimson blinked, joining the ovoid pods to running men. Burns scored across ceramite, and a few unlucky ones caught a charge in the face, blinded by the beams. The defense did nothing to slow the Death Guard advance. Once their blood was up, it was simply impossible to halt them. The crushing infantry charge boiling over stone and broken sheets of gas ice, guns crashing out into the thin air. Decius gave a full clip of bolter rounds to the closest pod and reloaded on the run, his pace never faltering. He heard a strangled cry issue out from the gun slit. The battle brother with the missile launcher was still with him, sporting the ugly singe mark from a glancing shot on his torso, but otherwise untouched. He saw the Astartes drop to one knee, and then with the ammunition carousel chattering, the missileer released a 4-shot salvo at the bunker. The rockets hit in a perfect cluster and tore the pod open, the roof peeling back as a fireball forced its way out. Incredibly, figures in black stumbled from the smoking ruin, some of them on fire, all of them brandishing weapons. Decius fired from the hip, killing a handful, and stormed in to take the last survivor by hand. Decius punched the Istvanian squarely in the chest, and the power fist cannoned him back into the bricks of the shield wall. The enemy soldier fell from a ragged impact crater and dropped at Decius's feet, a boneless rag doll. A hissing sound reached his ears, and the Astartes crouched to investigate. The man had lost a Vox headset in the impact, and it lay on the dirt next to him. Decius gathered it up and listened. Strident noise came from it, a disharmony of raw, shrieking tones that clawed up and down the cords. He tossed it away and stood up again. Decius glanced around, seeing the other bunker pods all burning or shattered, then nudged the corpse with his boot. A face, bloated with new death, looked back up at him, one eye peering through the shattered red lens of an aiming reticule. "You won't be my last today," he told the dead man, Fall back to a safe distance, Garro's voice shouted. Charges to detonate. The Astartes with the launcher tapped him on the shoulder. Brother, come. They're gonna blow the wall. Decius sprinted back a few 100 meters to where the Death Guard was massing in good order. He saw Tollin Sendek at his heels, a Sapper Command Signum unit in his grip. Ready? Snapped Sendek. Garro's helmet bobbed. Do it. Sendek stabbed at a glowing key and Decius heard a sharp, fizzing report from the stone fortification. Then, in the next second, tortured air molecules screamed aloud and a great length of the stone wall became rubble and powder. Take the dome! Garro drew his power sword and cut the air with it. For Terror and Mortarion! Decius ran at the battle captain's flank and plunged into the roiling clouds of rock dust, his helmet optics automatically rendering the terrain before him in grainy wire frames over the standard visual spectrum display. Sendek had, in defiance of conventional battlefield doctrine, used powerful hull cutter charges designed for starship boarding actions instead of standard crack munitions. The resultant overpressure from detonation in an atmosphere, even as one as thin as that of Istvaan Extremis, had blown down a large part of the west wall and gone on to cut a bite from the central dome beyond it. Decius didn't need to look up to memory on the journey from the Endurance, fixing in his subconscious the shape of the Oblat hemisphere and its forest of odd, pipe-like towers. His boots crunched on the bodies of dead men pulped by the breaching charges. Lines of twisted metal rebar crowded in around the Astartes, with bits of dangling ferrocrete strung along them like dusty pearls. Garro drew back his sword to cut through them, but Decius stepped in before him. No, Lord, allow me. Decius struck out with a power fist and hammered it 4 times against the stone, the final blow clearing the last of the blockage before them. He grinned to himself. It wasn't every battle where a man would find himself punching a building. The Death Guard spilled through the breach and into the dome proper, figures in off-white armor filling up the space inside. Decius saw hooded figures in black swarming like maddened ants through the smoke and dust, and beyond them, he blinked, drinking in the sight of the peculiar structure that dominated the dome. The briefing had told the Astartes to expect a standard Imperial sensor platform, perhaps with some recent modifications, but nothing more. Decius imagined they would penetrate the dome and find banks of cogitators, wave monitors, and the like. He could not have been more wrong. Every tier of the dome's inner levels had been removed, making the entire space wide open. In the middle of the smoke-wreathed chamber, there was a construct that seemed to be made of stone, but not the local variety of grey rock shot with mica. It was rough-sided ziggurat hewn from different slabs of minerals in a panoply of colours. The stones could only have come from other worlds. That was obvious. But why? What possible reason could there have been for something like this, in a place this remote, where no one but a few hundred traitors would ever see it? On the inside face of the dome there were patterns of lines and discs that seemed to go on forever, baffling the eye with illusions of depth and movement where there was none. Then there was the light and the sound, the same discordant noise he had heard on the headset. It was coming from the apex of the construction, rolling down the steep sides of the pyramid in slow, punishing waves. There was a figure up there, floating. Red lasers stitched the air around Decius's head, tearing his attention away from the ziggurat and back to the battle at hand. The Death Guard force was large, but they had underestimated the number of turncoats clustering inside the main dome. He heard Raal's voice on the Vox, furious with tension. Encountering heavy resistance at objective. Decius slammed an enemy trooper to death, the blow sending the dead man into a ring of his comrades, and in turn taking them off their feet. Captain Garro sliced through the Istvaanian lines with Libertas shining with gore, the bolter in his other hand banging with each kill shot it released. Solon kept pace with his commander, gathering Ral and Sendek to him. Hakur and his squad had the flanks as they pushed in towards the foot of the arcane construction. Decius laughed, the rush of the battle coursing through him, making a dozen more close-range kills with his bolter, blood flicking off his war gear. They were at the base of the ziggurat when a dull concussion rumbled through the dome, and a set of blast doors caved in with an agonized creak. Muscled giants in purple and gold punched through the entrance and laid into the black hoods. Fulgrim's boys have decided to grace us with their presence, said Garro, baring his teeth. Let's not let Eidolon say he made the peak before the Death Guard. The moment of confusion in the defenders caused by the new arrivals was enough to give the men of the 7th the opening they needed. And swiftly, the battle captain led the squad up through the rough-hewn face of the pyramid. Decius's gaze ranged up the steep, peculiar little mountain and found the apex again. Yes, he saw it clearly now. A woman was up there, and by some means she hovered, suspended in a cowl of glitter. Light popped and writhed around her shimmering form, each tiny sun-bright flash accompanied by more sound, more shrieking, lethal noise that pounded into his eardrums. Blood's oath! He shouted, barely loud enough for his words to carry over the horrific dissonance. What in the name of terror is she? Garro threw a look over his shoulder and spat out a name. Warsinger. That's the end of chapter 5. Geo Tom Taster, how you doing? Welcome to the channel. You don't know what you've been recommended, but you like it. Good. Welcome. Welcome to the channel. I appreciate you. Cecil, good shit. Mental, that was just one chapter. It felt like 2. Yeah, it was a lot going on there, weren't they? Fucking hell. How is everybody doing out there? So what are we thinking? What are we thinking? What are we thinking about that chapter? What are your thoughts? Oh, shithouse. Let me know your thoughts. Gavin! Gavin, how you doing, mate? Yeah, so basically, if you remember from the last book, before the events of Istvaan 3, some of the forces were sent to Istvaan Extremis, which is a planet or a planetoid in the same system, to deal with some shit. So that's what this is now. That's what's going on here, basically. Cecil, I think Garro already has his suspicions without being told anything explicitly. It seems that way, doesn't it? Because why would he... When he found out that his apothecary, Voyen, was part of the lodge, why did he make him do that specific, like, oath about if the lodge ever makes you move or plot against the Emperor of Mankind, you'll destroy the Lodge, basically. Do you know what I mean? That's a very specific thought for him to have. Do you know what I mean? It's very, very specific. That's a very specific oath to make someone make. Oh, you can be in the Lodge, but if they ever start plotting against the Emperor, like that was his immediate first thought. But that might be because, like was said in that chapter, Garro wasn't born on Barbarus. He was born on Terra. And he travelled and served under the Emperor himself before the Primarchs were found. So Garro is already, you can clearly see that Garro is already loyal to the Emperor above anyone else, even above his own Primarch. He's loyal to the Emperor above everyone else. Whereas with a lot of Astartes, you'll notice that they like not worship, but they idolize their Primarchs to a point where they will, like, a lot of them will just follow their Primarch whatever. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. A lot of them are Primarch over the Emperor. What are you saying, Gav? Just ordered a Blood Angel's Contemptor. Something that won't appear in any of these stories for like 19 more books. Cecil, oh, I think I'm going fists. Imperial fists. Imperial fists. Or Crimson fists. $40K era. Well, if you were to choose Horus Heresy era Imperial fists, that would mean that you can have Why is my mind gone blank now? Why is my mind just gone fucking blank? I can literally see a picture of him, like, in my face. Why can I not remember his name? Sigismund! There we go. Sigismund. That's who I was thinking of. We haven't met... Oh, we have met Sigismund. We met Sigismund in the first book. For like 10 minutes. Sigismund is basically like the best, like, swordsman, like the best, like, one-on-one duelist, like, ever. I mean, you could just make him. You could just kit basher a Sigismund and just have him in your army anyway. Sigismund is like the guy. Gav, do you know who has an amazing model? Saul Tarvitz. Yeah, Saul Tarvitz is a cool model. Saul Tarvitz is the G though, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? Absolute G. Who's the? In my opinion, he is like, what he did made him the MVP of the Istvaan 3 events. In my opinion, what he did was like far and above over what everybody else did. Do you know what I mean? I've been listening to some Lawkeeper's Librarian videos while going to sleep, and holy fucking shit, they're good. I've not listened to any of them. I don't think I've listened to that channel. But Sigismund, though, Owen. Holy shit. We'll get to Sigismund. Don't you worry about that. God damn. Gav, I might need to buy Dominion Zephon, another character who doesn't show up until checks notes. Book 41. Who's Dominion Zephon? Oh, well, don't say anything, actually, because I don't recognize that name. Cecil, if you like Imperial Fists, when we get to Sigismund, you're going to shit your pants with excitement over how fucking sick Sigismund actually is. He's a fucking monster. Like, he is like without equal in Space Marine terms. In my opinion. I'm sure other people will probably go, oh, well, there's other people who can fight him. But nah, in my opinion, he is a Space Marine without equal. Like, without equal. There is no fucking Space Marine who equals Sigismund. In my opinion. I reckon peak Sigismund would beat any Space Marine character that you can think of. He is a fucking monster. He is the Black Templar. Yeah, he is. He is. He is the Black Templar. He's a fucking monster, Sigismund. So sick. He's not he's one of my favorite Space Marines. He's not my favorite Space Marine, but he's one of my favorite Space Marines. And even though he's not my number one favorite Space Marine, I can quite safely say that I reckon he would body anyone else. Sigismund's model's fucking mint, dude. Wait until you find out about the man himself, Cecil. Wait until you find out about that guy. Absolute fucking beast. I'm trying not to give too much away. Gav, I'm annoyed that Typhon has quite a poor Horus Heresy model, though. Some of them are hit and miss, dude. Some of them are really hit and miss. Like, Erebus's model is fucking well good. I think. I think Erebus's model is well good, but Corpheron's is shit. But Erebus's is fucking well good. I actually want that miniature, but it'll be too small for my army. It'll be too small, sadly. Who do you reckon is the best Primarch model from Horus Heresy? Probably Magnus, innit? Oh, no, it'll be Horus Ascended. Horus Ascended is without a doubt the best Primarch model. I think. It's fucking well good. It's well good, that. Yeah, that's why you need to start a heresy army. No, I need to. Right, I tell you what. I will make this oath now. If I when I finish painting my word bearers, all the word bearers that I have, I will start a Horus Heresy army. I don't know who, though. I don't know who. I don't know who, though. Cecil, when? So in like 20 years from what I've gathered. Yeah, probably. Gav, Sons of Horus. You get so many. Oh, yeah, I know, but I don't want. No. Maybe Lunar Wolves, just so I could have good old Loken and Torg. So I could have Loken and Torg. I don't know, you know. I feel like I'd want Imperial Fists, just so I could have Sigismund. Maybe I should just get a Sigismund model. Maybe I should just get that, and then, because I don't really want any of the other ones. I just want Sigismund. I just want to have him. Like, maybe I should just get Sigismund. Trying to think. I don't know who I'd have. Maybe in about 38 years when we get through all these books, I might have a better idea. Probably be Blood Angels, you know. When I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking it's probably Blood Angels. Sanguinius, innit? My hero. My hero. Sanguinius. Nobody... Do you know what, right? Anyone who's been watching these streams that's just been taking the story as it comes and doesn't know, right? You'll have heard me go on about how much I love Sanguinius and how amazing he is, right? And how he's the best Primarch and all this shit. And you've only seen him for like a chapter and you didn't really see much of him. All you know is that he's like got long blonde hair and he actually has real angel wings that he was born with, like white feathery wings. That's like all you know about him. But I swear to God, when we get to it, you'll all understand. You'll all understand why Sanguinius is the one. Above all others. The Primarch above all others. The greatest Primarch. The beautiful, shining hawk boy. Sanguinius. Right, guys, I'm just going to nip for a wee. I'll be 2 minutes. See you in a sec.
Greetings, dear Queechlings.
Oh.
I am Imperial Servo Skull Unit, Nigel.
Cheers for that, Nigel. Didn't really need it, but cheers. Oh, here he is. Here he is. Kinel. Nice one, Nigel. Thanks for that, mate. Cheers. Right, where were we up to? Oh, we're on chapter 6, aren't we? There we go. There we go. Yeah, so what I was saying was, yeah, I'd probably pick Blood Angels if I was to do Horus Heresy. Probably just because of Sanguinius. I mean, I could just do word bearers again. That would make sense. Do you know what I mean? Because I'd have stuff that I could potentially reuse, that I could pull double duty on it. Do you know what I mean? Gav, the Blood Angels are awkward. Why are they awkward? What are they awkward for? Oh yeah, they're missing in action. They're not there. Yeah. Nah, yeah, I know what you mean. Well, they kind of. Well, I don't want to say what happens because of spoilers and stuff. But Chaka, could you do Loken though? Only, yeah. If I did Sons of Horus, but then it's like Sons of Horus are kind of. Well, all the loyal Sons of Horus are dead now, aren't they? We know that because of what happened to Istvaan 3. So Torg's dead. Vipus is dead. Loken's dead. Like, they're all dead. Do you know what I mean? And that's happened, like, right at the fucking beginning. Gav. A themed loyalist mix of Lunar Wolves, Emperor's Children, and Death Guard fighting together on Istvaan 3. That would be sick. Because then I could have all of those characters that were there. But you can only use it for one battle, really, though. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But it would be such a well-themed army. Yeah. It would be really good. It would be really, really good. You can't get any models for these War Singers things, can you? For these Istvaanians. I don't think there's any models for them, is there? Gav, nah, swap the characters out for Seal Torvins, Garbiel Loban, and say they're unrelated. And Torbigom. Fucking hell. Oh, Lucius would be there, though, wouldn't he, the little arsehole? Fucking Lucius. Prick. How does this even work? Gav, I've got Traitor Death Guard, though. We could do a themed campaign. That would be sick. It would be sick. That battle goes on for months as well, though, doesn't it, Istvaan? Goes on forever. Right, should we read chapter 6? Because I am a tired boy today. I'm very, very tired. I need an early night tonight. I didn't sleep until like nearly 6 o'clock again this morning. Gav, by the time you start a heresy army, I might have 4 done at this rate. I'll just borrow one of yours then, Gav. Don't worry about it. Phoenix, I need to go make dinner. We'll be back if you're still on. All right, Phoenix. I'll catch you in a bit, hopefully, then. Enjoy your dinner. Right. Let's jump in. Chapter 6. Chapter 6. To the brink. Triad of Skulls. New Orders. Garro stole a glance down the sheer slope of the ziggurat and saw the wild play of the battle spread out beneath him. All around, the interior of the dome was a churning sea of men engaged in the business of killing one another. Figures in black hoods swarmed at the white and purple shapes of the Astartes, laser fire flashing in chains of red lightning among the flares of yellow flame from bolter muzzles. Emperor's children were scaling the pyramid beneath them, following the path his men were forging with every heavy boot step. Dust and stone fragments crackled with each footfall, the peculiar patchwork construct resonating with each tortured stanza of the Warsinger's song. Garro pressed on, using the thick fingers of his gauntlets to dig the handholds from the stonework and haul himself upward. He saw red granite, crumbly limestone, and strange chunks of bifurcated statuary as he climbed. The mess of bricks seemed to have no regularity in its design or purpose. They were close to the woman now, and the Astartes could vaguely sense voices on his vox. But the deafening operatic screams of the enemy champion flattered them in an indecipherable roar. The Warsinger was steady and unmoving, and strange etches of colour and light drifted around her, just as the lazy snowflakes had drifted out on the plains. She had her hands to her chest, her head back, throwing a keening dirge to the roof. The song was endless, without pause for breath or meter, each note locking to the next, cutting through Garro's attempts to think clearly. It was unearthly. No human throat should have been able to voice it. No human lungs able to give it breath. Some force about the razored melody was ripping and picking at the very air, cutting into the flesh of the real. The top of the dome rippled like water, warping. Indolently, as if it was something done out of boredom rather than directed cruelty, the woman flicked her wrist and sent coils of shimmering aural force humming away down the lines of the pyramid. The waveforms caught around Pyr Ral and hoisted him off the stone, flipping him over in midair. Ash came off him in wreaths, his armor puckering and bending in the wrong places. He released a strangled cry that ended in a crackle of bone as he imploded. The Death Guard's crushed remnants bounced away into the melee below. Garro snarled in anger at the casual manner of his battle brother's death, charging upward. Then, almost unexpectedly, he made the top, letting his bolter fall away around his hip on its sling. The battle captain brought up Libertas in a firm, two-handed grip and laid into the Warsinger. At his flank, he was aware of Decius giving him covering fire, grimacing as the bolt rounds whined away in ricochets from the sheer energy of the wall of music. The Warsinger turned her notice to Garro, resentment forming on her face as his attacks invaded her sensorium. He saw her shift and turn, the long streamers of her hair drifting past her screaming face. Holding on to the fury from the cold murder of his subordinate, his sword swept across and connected with her song shield, the noise of the impact like a knife point drawn down a sheet of glass. Effortlessly, the enemy champion drew the sound in and threaded it into a cacophony, weaving it into the mad chorus. In a flash of understanding, the nature of his foe was revealed to him. The Warsinger could not be brought down by the energy of light and heat. Only raw sound would be enough to kill her. From the terrible mantra filling the dome space, the Warsinger teased out a single line of screaming clamour and spun it into a fist of glowing resonance. Garro saw the blow coming and shoved Decius aside, dodging away from her. She moved at the speed of sound, and with a sonic boom shocking the air into white rings of vapor, the Warsinger hit Garro with a hammer made of hymnals. Deafened, falling, pain. Decius's mind reeled with the edges of the impact, clinging to the simplest of reactions, barely able to process the sudden violence wrought upon him. The dome spun around, and he felt the rough surface of the ziggurat rise up and strike him as he fell back along the slope of it. Decius's power fist slapped down flat and open-palmed on a jutting piece of aged gargoyle, and the fingers closed around it with a snap. The stone statuary chipped and cracked, but held, halting his ignominious descent. His head tolled like a struck bell, a strange fuzzy pressure crowding in on his eyes. Decius swore a guttural barbarian oath under his breath and righted himself. His hyper-aware senses told him of contusions and minor breaks in some of his bones, but nothing that would warrant more than passing notice. Garro, Captain Garro, had saved his life up there, pushing him out to the edge of the Warsinger's attack. Something sparked inside, an anxious flare of emotion that was as close to panic as an Astartes might ever get. Where was he? Where was the battle captain? Decius came to his feet, pleased to find his bolter still at hand, the strap wrapped around his wrist guard, and batted away an Istvanian's clumsy attack. He swept the flank of the pyramid and found his commander. Garro's marble grey armor was stained with the rich red of Astartes' blood. A warrior of the Emperor's children was standing over him. Tarvitz. He remembered. Garro had spoken well of this man in the past. Still, a dart of offended pride rose in Decius's chest at the idea of a man from the 3rd Legion coming to the aid of a death guard, honor brother or not. Ignoring the grinding pain of bone on bone in his legs, Decius sprinted back up the ziggurat, regaining some of the ground he had lost in his headlong tumble. He caught a snatch of conversation between the two captains as he came closer. "Hold on, brother," Tarvitz was saying. "Just kill it." Garro coughed, blood on his lips, his head bare where the Warsinger's blow had sundered his battle helmet. "I have him," said Decius, stepping up. "He'll be safe with me." Tarvitz threw him a nod and then began his ascent. The Astartes turned back to his commander, and his gut knotted as the stink of fresh blood filled his nostrils. The smell was familiar and hateful to him. There were patterns of crushing damage to Garro's torso and his arm, and somewhere up there he had lost his bolter. But in his other hand, his good hand, the battle captain still gripped the hilt of Libertas with grim fury, clutching the sword like a talisman. Thin blades of shattered granite and obsidian punctured him, shock gel pooling around the places where they had punched through the captain's ceramite weave like bullets. But the worst of the wounds was the leg. Decius's face soured beneath his breath mask, and he was grateful that his commander could not see his expression. Less than a hand span down Garro's thigh, his right leg simply ended in a wet red scap of fleshy rags, burnt bone, and charred meat. It could only be the potent flood of coagulants, neurochemical agents, and countershock drugs from his gland implants that were keeping the captain conscious. Contemplating the sheer agony of the wound took Decius's breath away. The Warsinger hadn't simply torn Garro's leg from its socket. She had sheared it off with a serrated blade of pure sound. "How do I look, lad?" asked the captain. "Not so pretty as the Emperor's children." "It's not that bad." Garro spat out a pain-racked chuckle. "You're such a poor liar, boy." He waved the Astartes forward. Help me up. Saul will finish what we started. You're in no condition to fight, Lord, retorted Decius. Garro dragged himself up to use the Astartes as a crutch. Damn you, Decius! As long as the Death Guard draws breath, he's in condition to fight. He cast around, unsteady with the pain. Where's my bloody bolter? Lost, sir, Decius noted, guiding him downward. The battle captain spat. Terror curse it. Then help me into sword range and I'll cut these fools down instead. Together, leaving a trail of blood down the flank of the ragged pyramid, Decius and Garro hobbled to the floor of the dome and back into the thronging melee. Decius was aware that above them, the Warsinger's song was shifting and changing, but his mind was narrowing to the controlled murder of the close battle at hand. He became his captain's rock, feet spread and standing firm in the royal of combat, gunning down black hoods with his bolter in one hand and punishing those who strayed closer with his mailed fist encasing the other. Garro stood to his back, holding himself up with his damaged arm and cutting shimmering arcs of death with his racing sword. Blood pooled at their feet, the captain's mingling with that of the Istvaan turncoats. Decius yelled into his Vox pickup for a Medicae, but only scratches of static returned to him. The impact from the fall had probably damaged his communications gear, and even at the top of his lungs, his shouts could barely match the screaming of the Warsinger. Finally, Garro slumped, the Herculean effort and blood loss too much for even his Astartes physiology. Decius helped the battle captain to the ground and propped him up against the ziggurat wall. Sir, take this. He slammed a full clip of ammunition into his bolter and laid it on Garro's lap. Where are you going? His commander asked thickly. Garro was having trouble keeping focus. I'll be back, Captain. Decius turned and charged into the maelstrom, using the power fist to punch his way through the enemy ranks. Istvanian fighters were thrown and gored as he barreled through them, cutting a channel across the dome through the figures in dark cowls. They moved like water, churning around him and pooling back into the path he made. At last, Decius found what he sought and roared as loud as he could. Voyen! Hear me! The Death Guard apothecary's head snapped up from the body of a brother who had been cut apart by laser fire. I can do no more for this one, he said grimly. The Emperor knows his name, shouted Decius, and the captain will join that roll of honor as well unless you come with me now. Garro? Voyen sprang to his feet. Show me, boy, quickly. The captain of the 7th won't perish if I can help it. They waded back into the morass, fighting and moving. This way! He's still my commander, grated Voyen. Do you understand that? No matter what is said and done, that will never change. Do you understand, Decius? Who are you trying to convince, Voyen? Me or yourself? Decius threw him a hard look. At this moment, I don't care a damn for you and your blasted lodge. Just say... The rest of the Death Guard's words were lost in a final, shrieking exultation of noise from the top of the pyramid. Every man who could clapped his hands to his ears in blind reflex as the Warsinger sang her last, desperate attack, and died. Decius looked up and saw two figures in shimmering purple at the peak, saw a torn shape in a diaphanous robes fall away and tumble unceremoniously down the steep face. Eidolon! Cried an Astartes at their side. Eidolon made the kill! The bitch is dead! An oval object arced through the air, trailing white streamers, and Decius grabbed it before it could impact on the ground. He turned it over in his hand and found it was a human head. The Warsinger, he pronounced, holding it up by the woman's long, pale tresses. The neck had been severed by a single clean blow. With a grimace, he tossed it to the warrior of the Emperor's children and pushed on, ignoring the cries of victory. As one, The surviving Black Hoods stopped fighting. Some had fallen to their knees and were weeping, rocking back and forth or cradling their headsets in their hands, mewing over the sudden loss of their precious song. Most of them just stood there, milling around like lost children, choking the dome with their numbers. "Out of my way! Out of my way, you turncoat cattle!" bellowed Decius, fighting against the moaning crowd. He began punching them down where they stood, cutting the Istvanians like wheat before the scythe. Other Astartes joined in, and soon it became a wholesale cull. The War Master's orders had not spoken of prisoners. By the time they forced their way back to the foot of the ziggurat, Garro lay before them deathly pale and silent. An apothecary from the 3rd Legion knelt at his side, frowning. Voyen, his face tight with distress, shot a hard look at the other Medicae. "Stand aside! You're not to touch him!" "I saved his life, Death Guard," came the terse reply. "You should be thanking me. I did your job for you." Voyen cocked his fist in anger, but Decius stopped him halfway. "Brother," he began, turning to the other man. "Thank you. Will he survive?" "Get him to an infirmary within the hour, and he may live to fight another day." "Then he will," the young Astarte saluted in the old martial fashion. "I am Decius of the 7th. My company is in your debt." The apothecary gave a slight smile to Voyen and made to leave. "Fabius, apothecary to the Emperor's children. Consider my care of your captain a gift among comrades." Voyen's words dripped venom as the Astartes left. "Arrogant whelp! How dare he—" "Voyen!" snapped Decius, silencing the other man. "Help me carry him!" Garro was falling forever. The warm void around him was thick and heavy. It was an ocean of thin, clear oil as deep as memory, and beyond his ability to know its edge. He sank into it, the warmth wrapping around him in gossamer threads, in through his mouth and nostrils, filling his lungs and gullet, weighing him down, down and down, deeper, falling, still falling. He was aware of his injuries in a vague, disconnected way. Parts of his body were blacked out in his sensorium, nerve clusters dark and silent while the patient engines of his Astartes physiology went to work on keeping him alive. "My wounds will never heal," he said aloud, and the words bubbled past him, solidifying. Why had he said that? Where had that come from? Garro wondered with elephantine slowness and pushed at the thoughts in his mind, but they were impossible to shift, large as glaciers and ice-cold to the touch. The trance. Part of his brain eventually provided him with this small fragment of data. Yes, of course, his body had closed its borders and sealed him inside it. All other concerns and outside interests forgotten as his implants worked in concert to stop an encroaching death. The Astartes was in stasis, of a kind. Not the artificially generated fashion, where flesh was chilled down and chemical anti-crystallization agents were pumped into the bloodstream for long-duration, low-consumable starflight. This was the semi-death of the wounded man and the near-killed. Odd how he could be at once so aware of it, and yet so unaware as well. This was the function of the catalepsian node implanted in his brain, switching off sections of his cerebellum as a servitor might douse lamps in the unused rooms of a house. Garro had been here before, during the Fascife uprising, after a suicide attack on the stalwart's pod decks had ripped the flank of the battle barge open and tossed 100 unprotected men into space. He had survived that, awaking with new scars and months of missing time. Would he live through this? Garro tried to probe his thoughts for an exact recall of his last conscious moments, and found rough, broken perceptions and spikes of brutal pain. Tarvitz. Yes, Saul Tarvitz had been there, and the lad Decius as well. And before that, there was only the humming echo of white noise and heart-shrinking pain. He let himself drop away, let the agony shadow fade. Would he live through this? Garro would only know when it happened. Otherwise, he would fall and fall, sink and sink, and the captain of the 7th would become another soul lost, a steel skull-shaped stud the size of his thumbnail hammered into the iron wall of memory on Barbarus. He found he did not have a will to fight. Here, in this non-place, coiled him inside himself, he only was, marking time, waiting, healing. That was how it had been after Fascife, and so that was how it should be now. How it should be. But he knew something was different, even as the thought drifted through him. That shattering pain down in the dome. That had been like nothing he had ever experienced before. Hundreds of years of warfare had not prepared him for the Warsinger's brutal kiss. Garro knew now, too late, after the fact, that she had been an enemy of a kind he had never before encountered. Where her power sprang from, what form it took. These were things new to him in a universe where the Astartes had thought himself incapable of being surprised. That would teach him not to be complacent. In his own way, the battle captain marvelled at the play of events. It was incredible that he had survived to fall into a healing trance after challenging the Warsinger. Other Death Guard, other Emperor's children, had also met her might and died of it. He thought of poor Ral, crushed like a spent ration can. There would be no more wagers or games for him. As those brothers lay dead, Garro lived still, clinging to the raw edge of life. Why? He demanded. Why me and not them? Why Nathaniel Garro and not Peer Ral? Who made the choice? What scales were balanced by a man's death or his life? The questions hooked into him and pulled the Astartes back and forth, burrowing deep. It was such foolishness to ask these pointless things of an uncaring universe. What scales? There were no scales, no great arbiter of fates. It was pagan idolatry to consider such notions, to insist that the lives of men ran in some kind of clockwork beneath the winding fingers of a deity. No. Here was truth. Imperial truth. The stars turned and men died without a creator's plan for them. There were no gods, no herefores and hereafters, no futures but those we made for ourselves. Garro and his kinsmen simply were. And yet, in this place of death sleep, where things were at once murky and clearer, there seemed instances where Nathaniel Garro felt a pressure upon him that came from a place far distant, beyond himself. At the corners of his sensorium, he might perceive a small fragment of brilliance thrown across countless light years, the merest suggestion of interest from an intellect that towered over his. Cold logic told him that this was wishful, desperate thinking dredged up from the crude animal core of his hindbrain. But Garro could not quite let go of the feeling, of the raw hope that the will of something greater than he was acting upon him. If he was not dead, then perhaps he had been spared. It was a giddy, perilous thought. His hand lies upon all of us, and every one of us owes him our devotion. Who spoke those words? Was it Garro? Or someone else? They seemed strange and new, echoing from a distance. He guides us, teaches us, exhorts us to become more than we are, said the colourless voice. But most of all, the Emperor protects. The words disturbed Nathaniel. They made him turn and shift in the thick sea, his comfort fading. He sensed the pressure of dark storms brewing out in the impossible spaces around him, the visions of them coming to his mind through someone else's eyes, through a soul not far from his, yes, bright like the distant watcher, but only a single candle against the greater light's burning sun, black clouds of churning emotion, seething and pushing at the warp and weft of space, looking for a weak point through which they could flow. The storm front was coming, inexorable, unstoppable. Garro wanted to turn away, but there was no place in the drifting fall where he did not find them. He wanted to rise up and fight it, but they had no hands, no face, no flesh. There were shapes in the gloomy, shifting coils that rose and fell, some resembling the spirals of symbols he had seen inside the dome on Istvaan Extremis. Others he had glimpsed on the uncommon banners of the Lupercal's court. And repeating, over and over, a threefold icon that seemed to be seeking him out wherever his attention moved. A triad of skulls, a pyramid of screaming faces, 3 black discs, a trio of bleeding bullet wounds, and other variations, but always the same arrangement of shapes. "The Emperor protects," said a woman, and Garro felt her hands upon his cheek, the salt tang of her fallen tears on his lips. The sensations came to him from far, far away, drawing him to them and out of the haze of the threatening storms. Nathaniel was rising now, faster and faster, the warmth turning chill upon him, the pain coiling around his legs and stomach. There was a woman, a head of short hair framed in a penitent's hood, and agony, awakening. "Eyes of terror!" gasped Caleb. "He's alive! The captain lives!" "I would like to see him," said Tamita stiffly. Sergeant Hacker frowned. "Lord, my captain is in no state to..." Tamita silenced him with an upraised hand. "Hacker, old blade, out of respect to you for your service and record, I won't consider your obstreperous manner to be discourteous to my rank. But do not mistake what I just said for a request. Get out of my way, Sergeant." Hacker gave a shallow bow. "Of course, Captain. I forget myself." Tamita stepped around the veteran and strode purposefully into the Endurance Tertiary Infirmary. throwing nods to men from his own company who were still healing from wounds taken on the Jorgal world ship. Most would not return to combat status, but would suffer the comparative ignominy of becoming permanently stationed as ship crew, or else return to Barbaros to live out their days as commandant instructors to the novitiates. Ulis Tamita hoped that Garro would not share such a fate. The day that the battle captain was forced to step off the battle line would be the day the man's spirit perished. He entered a cordoned-off Medicae cell and found his comrade there in a support throne, surrounded by brass technologies and glass jars of fluids piping gently into the sockets of Garro's implanted carapace. The battle captain's housecarl jumped as Tamita swept in and came to his feet in a jerk of shocked motion. Caleb clutched a fist of inky papers to his chest and blinked with watery eyes. Tamita immediately had the sense that he had caught the serf doing something wrong, but he decided not to press the matter. "Has he said anything?" Caleb nodded, tucking the papers into an inner pocket in his tunic. "Yes, sir. While the captain was healing, he spoke several times. I couldn't divine the meaning of it all, but I heard him speak names. The Emperor's chief among them." The housecarl was anxious. He has not been in contact with anyone else beyond the Medicae staff and myself since his healing coma concluded." Tamita looked at Garro and leaned closer. Nathaniel, you old fool. If you're done sleeping, there's a crusade on, haven't you noticed? He kept a note of good humour, masking his own concern. His smile became genuine when Garro's eyes fluttered open and fixed on him. "Ulis, can't you handle a fight without me?" said Tamita. "Your wounds haven't dulled that wit of yours, then." He laid a hand on Garro's shoulder. "Word from that peacock, Saul Tarvitz. He's back on the Andronius, but he wanted to thank you for softening up the Warsinger for him." The captain grunted in amusement, but said nothing. "Your lads were concerned," Tamita continued. "I hear Akko was afraid he might have to step up and take the eagle cuirass." I can still carry it, if only these sawbones would let me go." Garro winced as a wave of pain shot through him. "I heal better standing up." Tamita shot a look out into the infirmary proper where Voyan hovered silently. He took a breath. "How's the leg, Nathaniel?" Garro's face went a little grey as he looked down the chair. His right limb was misshapen and out of place. Instead of a form of strong, firm muscle and sinew, there was a skeletal construct of dense steel and plates made of polished brass that mimicked the planes of a thigh and calf. The augmetic leg was of excellent quality, but it was no less shocking to see it there. Conflicting thoughts warred over Garro's expression. "It'll suffice. The chirurgeons tell me that the nerve bonding went without incident. According to Brother Voyan, in time, I will not even be aware of it." Tamita heard the thinly veiled disbelief in his comrade's voice, but chose not to respond to it. "That's the battle captain I know. Well, the man can leave a good cut of himself on the field and still come back for a rematch with teeth bared." Garro gave a wan smile, his voice strengthening. "Well, that will be soon. Tell me, brother, what have I missed while I was healing? Did I sleep through Istvaan's pacification and the rest of the Great Crusade?" "Hardly." Tamita worked at keeping a light tone, even as he saw where Nathaniel was taking the conversation. "Orders from the War Master have come down from Lord Mortarion. The fleet's at high anchor over Istvaan 3 as we speak. All the turncoats' local orbitals have been taken down by the Raven squadrons, And what system shifts we have encountered are wreckage. The skies belong to Horus. And the attack on the Coral City. If you were here, then I assume it's still to come. Soon, brother. The War Master himself has chosen the men that will form the spear tip against Vardis Paral's forces. Garro frowned slightly. Horus is picking the units. That is, atypical. That's usually a task for the Legion Master. Well, he is the War Master, Tamita replied with a hint of pride. Atypical is his prerogative. Garro nodded. He chose your unit, didn't he? No wonder you're so happy about it. The captain smiled. I look forward to fighting alongside you again so soon after your Gala assault. And there it was. As much as Tamita didn't want to show a reaction, he knew he did. And he saw that Nathaniel caught it. The ends of Garro's smile tightened. Or not. Nathaniel, he sighed. I thought I should be the one to tell you, before that dolt Grulgor made sport of it. The apothecaries have not declared you fully healed, and therefore you were deemed unfit for battlefield operations. Your command remains at a limited duty standing. Limited. Garro bit out the word and shot a savage, angry glare at Voyen, who hurriedly turned and walked away. Is that how I am considered? Limited. Don't be petulant, snapped Tamita, heading off his friend's anger as quickly as he could. And don't take it out on Voyen. He's only doing his duty to the Legion and to you. If you tried to lead the 7th Company now, you'd risk failing them, and that's a chance the Death Guard can't take. You're not going down to Istvaan 3, Nathaniel. Those orders come direct from First Captain Typhon. Callous Typhon can kiss my sword hilt, growled Garro, and Tamita saw his housecarl blink in shock at the normally stoic captain's insult. Get these cage ornaments off me, he continued, forcing the Medicaid monitors and filter vials. Nathaniel, wait. With a grunt of effort, Garro shoved himself off the support throne and onto his flesh and metal feet. He took a few firm steps forward. If I can move, then I can fight. I'll go to Typhon, and I'll tell him that in person. Garro pushed away and paced out of the cell, fighting off a hobble in his walk with each angry step. Caleb watched his master rise from his sickbed and stride away, the steel and brass of his new limb as much part of him as his iron will to survive. Alone again for a moment in the small chamber, he pulled out the sheaf of papers tucked in his pocket and spread them smooth on the rough matting of the support throne. With furtive care, from a chain around his neck, the housecarl drew a small metal fetish carved out of a bolt shell case. It was a rudimentary thing, rough in form but cut with the sort of care that only devotion could bring. Held to the light, thin lines of etching and patterns of pinholes showed the outline of a towering figure, haloed by rays from a sun. Caleb put the small icon down on top of the papers and ran his palms over one another. Now, he was convinced. As ridiculous as the idea was that he might have required further proof for his faith. As his honoured master had dallied between life and death before him, Caleb had stood sentinel over Captain Garro and read, in hushed whispers, the words that traced across the dog-eared leaflets. His hand lies upon all of us, and every one of us owes him our devotion. He guides us, teaches us, and exhorts us to become more than we are. But most of all, the Emperor protects. Indeed, the Emperor had protected Nathaniel Garro. He had answered Caleb's entreaty to save the life of his master, and shown the Death Guard the way back from the brink. Now, the housecarl fully understood what he had only suspected before. Garro is of purpose. The Astartes lived, not through chance or caprice of action, but because the Lord of mankind wished it to be so. There would come a moment, and the housecarl instinctively knew it would be soon, when Garro would be set to a task that only he could fulfill. And when that time came, Caleb's role would be to light the man's way. Caleb knew that to speak of this to his master would be wrong. He had kept his quiet beliefs to himself for this long, and the moment was not yet right to speak openly of them. But he could see it. He was sure that Garro was gradually turning to the same path that he already walked. A path that led to terror and to the only true divine being in the cosmos, the God Emperor himself. When he was sure he was not being observed, the housecarl began to pray. His hands spread wide across the pages of the Laetitio Divinatus, the words of the Church of the Holy Emperor. Garro's face was hard with chained anger, and he felt it surge each time the new leg made him limp. The minute gyroscopic mechanisms in the limb would take time to learn the motions and kinetics of his body movement, and until they did, he would be forced to walk as if lame. Still, he reflected, at least he could walk. The ignominy of relying on a cane or some other support would have been difficult to bear. Tamita kept pace with him. The captain of the 4th had given up trying to convince him to return to the infirmary and followed warily at his side. The uncertainty on Tamita's face was clear. Garro's battle brother had not seen him in such a foul humour before. They reached the Endurance Commandery, the nexus of private chambers, and Sanctorum their Primarch took as his own while he was aboard. Crossing the small atrium to the entrance, Garro saw another Death Guard walking in front of him, intent on the same destination, and to his concern he realized that it was Ignatius Grulgor. The commander of the 2nd Company turned at the sound of a steel foot on the marble tiles of the floor and gave Garro a disdainful, appraising look. "Not dead, then?" Grulgor folded his arms and looked down his nose. He was still wearing his war gear, where Garro had only simple duty robes. "I hope that's not too great a disappointment to you," Garro retorted. "Nothing could be further from the truth," lied the commander. "But tell me, in your invalid state, would it not be safer for you to keep to your sickbed? In such a weakened condition." "Oh, for once in your life, be silent," snapped Tamita. Grulgor's face darkened. "Watch your mouth, Captain." Garro waved the other Astartes away. "I don't have time to spar with you, Grulgor. I will have the Primarch's ear." He continued towards the doors. "You're too late for that," came the reply. "Not that the Death Lord would have deigned to spare his attention to a cripple. Mortarion is no longer aboard the Endurance. He's with the War Master once again, in conference on matters of the Crusade." "Then I'll talk to Typhon," Grulgor sneered. "Well, you can wait your turn. Summoned me here only moments ago." "We'll see who waits," snapped Garro, and slammed the commandery doors wide open. Inside, First Captain Typhon's head jerked up from the battle maps laid out on the chart table before him. Typhon's hulking, armoured form was framed by a tall stained glass window that looked out over the length of the warship's dorsal hull.
Garro.
He seemed genuinely surprised to see the battle captain up and walking.
Sir,
replied Nathaniel.
Captain Tamita informs me that my combatant status has not been restored.
Typhon gave Grulgor a slight sign with his hand, a command to wait.
This is so. The apothecaries say I care little for that at this moment.
Garro broke in, ignoring protocol.
I request my command squad be immediately tasked to the Istvaan 3 assault.
A quick, almost imperceptible look passed between Typhon and Grulgor before the first captain spoke again.
Captain Tamita, why are you here?
Tamita hesitated, wrong-footed by the question. Lord, I came with Captain Garro in support. Typhon gestured to Garro with a wave of his hand.
Does he need support, Tamita? He can stand on his own 2 feet.
He gave a sharp nod at the commandery doors.
You are dismissed. Attend to your company in the preparations for the drop.
The captain of the 4 frowned and saluted, giving Garro a last look before he exited the chamber. When the doors banged shut, Nathaniel met Typhon's gaze again.
I'll have an answer from you, First Captain. Your request is denied.
Why? Garro demanded.
I am fit to lead. Damn it! I stood and fought on Istvaan Extremis with a leg torn from me, and yet I cannot prosecute the Emperor's enemies with this tin prosthesis bolted to me torso.
Typhon's hard, amber eyes narrowed.
If it were up to me, I would let you do this, Garro. I would be willing to let you stumble into that war zone and live or die on your own stock of bravado. But the word comes from his lordship. Mortarion makes this command. Would you oppose the will of our Primarch? If he were here in this chamber, I would. Then you would hear the same words from his lips. If time enough had passed and your injury was fully healed, then perhaps. But not here and now.
Grulgor couldn't resist the opportunity to twist a knife.
I'll bring a little glory back for you, Terran.
Garro's ire rose in a hot surge, but Typhon's gruff voice snapped out again before he could speak.
No, Captain Grulgor, you will not. It is my decision that you will also remain with the orbital flotilla during the Istvaan 3 operation.
The commander's arrogant bluster died in his throat.
What? Why, Lord? Garro, he's injured. But I'm battle-ready, strengthened.
Typhon spoke over him.
I called you here to give you this order personally before I departed to board the Terminus Est. I was going to send a runner to Captain Garro with his orders, but as he's presented himself here before me, I see no reason why I shouldn't inform you both together.
The first captain stepped around the chart table towards them and took on a formal, commanding tone.
Based on the battle plans of His Excellence the War Master Horus and our liege, the Death Lord Mortarion, it has been determined that you will both be assigned to duty stations with your command squads aboard an Imperial warship. This will be a supervisory posting. The rest of your great companies will remain in reserve. During the assault on Istvaan 3 and the Coral City, you will provide standby tactical support for the drop pod deployment operation and remain on alert to perform rapid reaction interdict duties.
A servitor approached Garro and handed him a data slate containing the details of the official battle edict.
Interdiction against what?
Demanded Grulgor.
Pral's army is nothing without flies. We destroyed it all. Which of us will have operational command?
Asked Garro in a low, resigned voice, paging through the content of the slate.
That responsibility will be shared jointly,
Typhon replied. On some level, Garro felt defeated and empty. But at least he could draw some small consolation from the fact that he would not have to face Grulgor lauding his superiority over the men of his command squad. In an instant, the burning discontentment that had flooded through him cooled and faded. Garro's old, usual manner of dogged endurance came easily back to the fore. If Mortarion said it was to be so, then in all truth, what right did he have to say otherwise? He hid a sigh.
Thank you, First Captain, for illuminating me. At your discretion, I wish to assemble me men and brief them on this new task.
Typhon nodded.
You are dismissed, Captain Garro.
Nathaniel Garro turned and walked away, the clicking of the steel foot a ticking metronome for his discontent. Grulgor made to leave as well, but Typhon shook his head.
Ignatius, a moment.
When Garro had left the chamber, he stepped closer to the commander.
I know you feel I have slighted you, but brother, believe me, the reverse is so.
Indeed? Grulgor was unconvinced.
The key battle of this campaign, and you tell me I must watch it from orbit, corralled in a tin can with a gang of swabs, and Garro playing the wounded martyr. Please, my esteemed first captain, tell me how this does me such great honour.
Typhon ignored the sarcasm.
I spoke to you before of our master's desire to bring Garro to the War Master's banner over Terrors. But we both know that Garro will not change. He's too much the Emperor's dutiful warrior.
Grulgor's brow furrowed.
Istvaan 3? Could this be the turning point?
Typhon said nothing, watching him.
Perhaps.
He nodded slowly, forming his thoughts.
I think I see an intention emerging. The unusual pattern of mission assignments to specific units from the legions instead of complete companies. One could imagine that Lord Horus seeks to isolate the elements that do not share his convictions.
Typhon nodded.
When the turning point, as you call it, arrives, there are certain duties Horus would have you perform.
His voice dropped.
Despite Mortarion's munificence and lenience towards him, I know Garro will attempt to betray our liege lord and the War Master.
Grulgor nodded in return, for the first time exactly aware of his position in the scheme of things.
I will not allow that to transpire.
Garro stood in the centre of the armoury chamber and repeated Typhon's words. He forced away the chill impression of a storm cloud and building threat, the sense of vast and silent machinations thundering unseen above him. Garro put these things aside and spoke to his men as their brother and commander, preparing them for the battle to come. There were grumblings of dissension, but Hakur stamped on them immediately, and in good order. The assembled squads of Astartes began their arming procedures prior to embarkation to their new posting. "This ship, sir," said Sendek. "Vessel where we're to be sent. Do you know anything of it?"
"A frigate,"
replied Garro.
"It's called the Eisenstein."
There we go. There we go. End of chapter 6. So, what do we think's happening, guys? Cecil, he said the thing. It's the Eisenstein. So what do we think's about to happen then? I can see Cecil saying, "Oh, they're going to kill him. They're going to try and kill him." But it's looking that way, isn't it? Because that was quite a telling conversation between Typhon and Grulgor. Chaka, Eisenstein, isn't that a thing we heard before? Yeah. It's the ship that, if you remember, when Saul Tarvitz finds out of the betrayal that's about to happen, he jumps into a Thunderhawk like dropship, doesn't he? Because he wants to try and warn Loken and everyone who's on the planet about what's going to happen. But some of the Emperor's children follow him in their own gunships, trying to shoot him down. And the ship that Saul Tarvitz comes across is the Eisenstein. And the person that he speaks to over the Vox is Nathaniel Garro. And Tarvitz tells Garro, that's when Tarvitz tells Garro about Horus's plan and what they're doing. And that's when Garro goes, right. And then he shoots down the guys that are chasing Saul, so Saul can get to the planet and warn Loken. And then Garro's basically like, right, let's get the fuck out of here and warn everyone. So that's the ship, the Eisenstein. Saul. He's the MVP of Istvaan 3. Absolute MVP. Owen, obviously they're not going to succeed. Wow. Why is it obvious? All of the main characters died in the last book. Literally all of the main characters died in the last book. So it's not that obvious. Yeah, but Garro didn't. Yeah, because we're going to find out what happened to Garro in this book. We don't know what happens to Garro yet. We'll find out. We are certainly going to find out. Did you notice that we saw a scene from the last book, but from a different point of view? Because there's a scene that just happened in that last chapter that we've already experienced, but we experienced it from somebody else's point of view. Snow, yeah. So the scene was the bit with the ziggurat and the Warsinger when Soltavitz and Eidolon climbed up the ziggurat to kill the Warsinger. And Nathaniel Garro gets blasted by the Warsinger. We saw all of that play out in the last book, but we were witnessing it from Saul's point of view. Do you not remember? Because Garro gets blasted and gets his legs blown off in the last book, in that exact scene. But we witnessed it from Saul's point of view. So we actually saw what happened when they got up to the top of the pyramid and confronted the Warsinger. Whereas obviously Garro, this time, we don't get to see that. We only really see the aftermath of it because we're seeing it from Garro's point of view. Because all of these things that are happening are all interlinking events, aren't they, in these first few books? So we're now seeing it from a different point of view. The same events from a different perspective, so to speak. Because all of this is from Garro's point of view. Whereas the last few books have really been from Loken's point of view and Tarvitz's point of view. Snow Garro was a bit preoccupied with dying, yeah. He got fucking blasted. At least he didn't get imploded like fucking Ral. Ral just got fucking crushed. Absolutely squashed. Imploded. That's brutal. Chaka, 215 hours of the Slam King, love it. Fucking hell. Owen, yeah, that was brutal. Squashed like a Coke can. Fucking hell, Chaka, 215 hours. How did you find that out? How did you know that? Owen, he looks like Mike Wazowski now. What did you think of them visions? That Garro was having while he was in his coma. They were quite telling. They were quite foreshadowing. Let's say. Oh, so, it's the bum eggs command. Ah, right, okay. Owen, that's you, Freighty. Obviously, it was Caleb saying it. Yeah, that's what I thought as well. That's what I thought as well. Yeah, I definitely think the woman's you, Freighty. But it was being channeled. I think she was channeling through Caleb's prayers. That's what I think. But that was what pulled him out of the other part of his dream, so to speak. Because there was two parts of the dream, weren't they? Leeds J, I don't think I've ever been as invested in something. Chaka, since you haven't read this book before, how you find it? I'm really enjoying it. I guess you know what's happening, though. Yeah, I know exactly what happens. There's details that I don't know. There's details that I don't know. But I know what happens. in this story. But I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying having Nathaniel Garro fleshed out for me. But yeah, going back to that dream. Ah, there you go, Owen. That's got to be the forces of chaos right there. 3 main gods, if I'm remembering right. Nope. There aren't 3. But you're very close. You're very close. You're on the right track. You're very warm. Very, very warm. So, there was 2 parts to his dream. The first part was falling and sinking. So he was going down. And the visions he was being given were, like you said, images of things in the same placement. 3. Like that. Like the lenses on my ocular unit here. So like that, basically. 2 on the bottom, 1 on the top. That's the positioning and the amount of numbers. So it was different images or items or whatever, but it was always 3 and always in that position, always in that alignment. So it might be bullet holes or skulls or black discs or whatever it was. It could be fucking 3 fucking eggs. Do you know what I mean? But it's like 3 always in that positioning. 2 on the bottom, 1 on the top. And it was only when the prayers started coming through did he stop sinking and start rising. Drebbin, how you doing? You alright? So yeah, Owen, you're in the right ballpark, but some of the details you've got are wrong. But you're in the right ballpark. Like, I'm not gonna say any more. I'm only gonna give you the information that the book has given you so far. But you are in the right ballpark. This book's gonna get really, really good. Because I know what's coming. It's gonna get real fucking good. I do think the first 6 chapters have been quite slow. Like, there's been shit happening, but it has been quite, like, it reminds me of the first book, like, of Horus Rising a bit, where it's quite slow to start. Do you know what I mean? But I know what's gonna happen, so I'm excited to get to it. But it's good though, because I kind of, although these first few chapters are slow, I understand why they're slow, because we're now introducing a whole load of new characters, because all of our old heroes are dead. You don't think it? Yeah. I can. Yeah. It's not as slow as Horus Rising, but I think it's because the previous 2 books that we've read have not really been, they've kind of, do you know what I mean? Because it was one continuous story. It's kind of just been like ramping up, whereas this is like, right, okay, we've got loads more characters to fucking introduce now, and different perspectives and stuff, which is understandable. But I am enjoying it. I am enjoying it a lot. I'm just really, really fucking excited to get to the rest of the book. Oh shit, basically. I do like Garro as a character, though. I like him a lot. I think he's very cool. I like Mortarion as well. I think Mortarion's cool as fuck. Very cool. Fucking Decimus and Decius and Garro are insanely hard. Like, just from that last battle there, the bit with the Warsinger's ziggurat, where Garro's got his legs fucking blown off, and he's like to Decius, "Pick me up, I'll fight." He's a fucking madhead. And Decius just going in. He was just like, "No, I need an apothecary." So he just got his fucking big old power fist and just starts punching through fucking like hordes of people to find a fucking Medicae, to find a fucking apothecary. What a fucking monster. Cecil. Decius, what a fucking G. I already love him. I can't wait for him to die horrifically. Well, at least now you're all understanding. It's Game of Thrones, isn't it, basically? Chaka, yeah, in the book before was full on gore all chapters, so it's a swap of pace. Yeah, it is. But I don't even know. I don't think we're going to see much of that. I was going to say the events of Istvaan 3 haven't happened yet. That's about to happen, I imagine, because that's what we were gearing up to there, weren't we? Because that's what Typhon was fucking talking about with Grulgor, effectively, without telling him. Voyen, the apothecary. Do you think he's a worm? Do you think he's a worm? Do you actually? He seemed quite genuine to me, you know. He seemed quite genuine to me, I felt. Like what he was saying. Like I think that he genuinely believes what he was saying. I don't think he was lying. I think he was like what he said, where he was like, no, it's just a brotherhood. It's just a brotherhood. Like, it's nothing bad or anything. I think he genuinely believes that. Hey, Sketchcat, how you doing? You alright? Who's a worm? Cecil thinks Apothecary Voyen is a worm. But I disagree though. I genuinely think he's being genuine. I could be wrong. He's not a character I know much about. So I actually don't know. Like, I know the events of what happens in this book, but I don't really know anything about like Apothecary Voyen. I don't know shit about him. Owen, I do. The way he's more interested in trying to convince Decius that he cares for Garro rather than actually trying to help him. Oh shit, I didn't even fucking think of that. And then when someone already got there, he was throwing a temper tantrum rather than thanking him for helping like you would if you cared more about Garro than saving face. Ooh, shit, actually. Maybe. See, I took it as him being annoyed that he wasn't the one to help him. I took it as him being annoyed at himself. I took it in a different way. But now that you're saying that, that's now got me in two minds. Snow, it's also cool that they make it seem like Mortarion wanted to keep Garro with them and it's Typhon who dislikes him. Yeah, I registered that as well. That was in the conversation between Typhon and Grulgor, weren't it? Like, Typhon literally said that. Actually said that. Mortarion wants Garro to side with us and the War Master. But Typhon was like, no, he loves the Emperor too much. He won't. So, you're going to have to deal with this, Grulgor, basically. That's effectively what he said. He did say that. He literally said that. Owen, I don't think he's a full-on scumbag out to plot against him, but he definitely comes across like a spineless worm who doesn't want anyone to think bad of him. Yeah, I see where you're coming from with that. I do see that. I do see where you're getting at with that. I actually don't know, though. I actually don't know. I don't know anything about Apothecary Vadon. Not Vadon. Voyen. I don't know shit about him. So he could be. He could be a shitbag. Leeds J. Sometimes the most genuine people can turn out to be a total snake. That is very, very true. That is very, 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 very true. Owen, I almost did that too. Who's Vadon again? Vadon was the apothecary in the Sons of Horus. Vadon was the apothecary with Loken. Apothecary Vadon. Who was trying to save Horus when Horus got stabbed with the poo knife. Do you remember? When Loken and all the Space Marines like basically trampled a load of Imperial citizens to death trying to get Horus to the fucking Medicaid deck. Chaka, yeah, just look at Horus, what a turn he did. I think with Horus, do you know what I genuinely think? I think it was he didn't want to die. I think that was the big kicker for him. Because he basically had to choose between staying loyal to the Emperor when he was in his coma from the poo knife. The choice that was given to him was stay loyal to the Emperor and die. Or don't. And we will save you. I genuinely think that was the biggest kicker for him. Because I don't think he wanted to die. I don't think he would have just turned on the Emperor just like that. Just because they've shown him a vision of something that might have been true or might not have been true. Do you know what I mean? I don't think that would have been enough for Horus to turn. I think he was trying to save himself. Yeah, he was. And he was and he wasn't though. Like, he was no more power hungry than any of the others. Snow, don't forget Magnus said that he could have saved without them. Did he? I don't remember that. I don't remember that. I just remember Magnus saying, don't do it. Do not walk down this path. If you walk down this path, all will be lost. And he was saying, I don't have much time, brother. Do not do this. Please do not do this. I don't remember Magnus saying he could save him. Because I thought the whole point of it was that was the choice. Chaka, I think he was. I said it from book 1. Yeah. For me though, I just don't feel like that was enough. I don't feel like he would have ever have chose to go against the Emperor. Unless he was given that choice. Snow, I'm pretty sure he did when he was saying they were lying and exposed Erebus. I remember that. I don't remember him saying that he could help him. Or at least, I don't remember him saying that he could save him. All I remember was him saying, I don't have much time. Please do not walk down this path or all will be lost. Maybe he did. Maybe I just don't remember it. We've not seen Erebus for a while, have we? Sadly. Sadly, eh? Not seen our boy Erebus knocking around. Wonder where he's gone. Where's he at? Where's big Erebus at? He'll pop back up, don't you worry. He'll pop right back up. He still has a part to play. Hey, Moderator Supreme, Necrob, how you doing, man? How was To the Grave? How was the show? Snow, Erebus is off being a dickhead, that's for sure. I really want an Erebus miniature. I really want one. He's the most hated. He's the most hated. He's the best baddie. He's the best baddie. He's most hated. Necrob, heavy and sweaty. Oh, excellent, excellent. Well, I'm glad you've had a good time. How was Osaya? How was the boys? Necrob, very vegan. What constitutes as very vegan, though? Were they like throwing tofu into the crowd or something? Hey, Nossa, how you doing, man? You alright? How's your day been? Snow, you know you've done well when you can get everyone to hate a villain. Yeah. He's the baddie. He's the best baddie. He's the best baddie in all of it. He's the best baddie in all of it. And every time he shows up, you hate him even more. which is like, how have you done that? Like, do you know what I mean? How can you make me hate this guy even more? You've done it. Necrob, they had a table showing animal cruelty in slaughterhouses. Oh, right. Cool. Osaya slapped as always. Amazing. Good. Good. Love those guys. Nossa, day's been alright. Good. Glad. Honestly, like, though, you think you hate Erebus now? You just fucking wait. Oh yeah, Chaka, did you ban him? Did you ban that guy? Necrob, Veiled were first on, really fucking good. Would recommend checking them out. Sick. All right, I'll check them out. There was Rob. There was just some troll in the chat, just going on about porn or something. And I warned him. And Chaka warned him, and everyone else told him to shut the fuck up. And then I'm assuming he didn't stop, and Chaka's banned him, which is fair. Do you know what I mean? It's like, how many times do you need to be told? Like, what the fuck? Yeah, it was obviously a troll. I don't think it was like a proper weirdo or anything. He was griefing, basically. He was chat griefing. Necrop, the slam was dealt this day. The slam hammer. It was. Chaka wielded the slam hammer. I think that's our first ever ban, that, isn't it? That's our first ever ban. Our first ever ban. Like, proper ban. You know, that wasn't like a Kick bot. That wasn't like just a bot account on Kick. I mean, like an actual person. That was our first ever ban, I think. Oh, have you banned some? Oh, Rob's banned someone as well. Fucking hell. Jesus Christ, what's going on? Shit. Shit, I'm missing all the bannings. I didn't even know that guy got banned. I just thought he shut the fuck up. Yeah, I didn't know for sure that Chaka had banned that guy today. I just thought he stopped. But I started reading the book anyway, so I didn't see. Nah, you did the right thing, Chaka. You did the right thing. Absolutely right thing. Can't be arsed with that shit. Do you know what I mean? This is a fucking fun place. If it had just been one, like, fucking funny comment of just someone trying to be funny, then fair enough. Do you know what I mean? Like, my sense of humor is fucking ridiculous. But that was just, like, constant trollage. Can't be arsed with that. Oh, yeah. Fair play. Bringing out the slam hammer. There we go. Big up the mods. Big up the mods. Fucking hell. Oh my god. It's all kicking off. It's all kicking off. I thought it was going to be a quiet stream as well. Do you know what I mean? Oh, it was going to be a nice, chill, quiet one on a Wednesday. Chaka, he was just winding people up on purpose. Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. Like, because when I saw the first comment, I was like, oh, maybe he's just like saying that just to try and be funny, you know, like as a fucking weird icebreaker or whatever. But then when it was just like then I saw message after message of it, and I was just like, nah, man, knock it off or you'll get banned. Bloody hell. Well, there we go. What an exciting series of events. How exciting. Can't believe that. Chaka's first ban. Chaka's first ban. Oh my god. Nossa. Yeah, we had a chat troll. Like, really early on in the stream before I'd even started reading the book. He was like, he was just saying shit about like, oh, I just can't stop watching porn. I just can't stop watching porn. Like, over and over again. It's just like, what the fuck? It was a weird choice of troll, I'll be honest. But yeah, he got banned. Owen, anyway, no news, rest in peace, Purple Aki. Fucking Purple Aki, man. Jesus Christ. Going around squeezing arms. Fucking weird, that. What a weird man. What a weird man. Fucking weird, man. Fucking Purple Aki. Jesus Christ. He's a legend around these parts. Around the northwest. The legend of Purple Aki. Just be careful. Be careful if a man comes up to you asking to squeeze your arms, to feel your legs and your arms. Fucking weird. Oh my god. Owen, imagine being famous for being a nonce, but just being a laughing stock. Yeah, no. Fucking bizarre. Fucking bizarre. Fucking so weird. Weird that he's died, though. You know what I mean? Maybe he got his arms squeezed too much, and he died. You know what I mean?
Slam King, you look tired. Maybe it is
Fucking
time
hell.
to retire to your chambers.
I think you're right. I think you're right, Nigel. I think you're right. Bloody hell. Anything else you want to say before we go, Nigel?
In the name of the Emperor, please do join our Discord community.
Oh, yeah. That's a good shout, that, Nigel. There we go. There we go. There's our Discord community. Join our Discord. If you're new to the channel and you haven't joined our Discord, do as Nigel says and join our Discord, because we've got the best community of people in the world. In the world. Everyone there is fucking amazing. So please click that link and join our Discord. But I am going to go to bed now, but tomorrow it's Thursday Night Terror. So make sure you tune in. Should be on about 7 o'clock. So I'm going to go to bed. But from me, from Nigel, thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight, guys. Massive love. I will see you all tomorrow. Mwah.
Thank you so much for joining us, dear Queechlings. We will see you next week.
Peace and love, guys. Love you all. Mwah. I'll speak to you in the Discord.